creases. Ugly creases. One of the reasons people can't stand folding phones or won't use folding phones. But Oppo have essentially eliminated the crease. After 1 week, over 1,500 folds. That crease is not there. There isn't an indent at all in that. There's no crease there whatsoever. I would almost say there's probably a negative crease, to be honest. If you can, let me see if I can get it. You can see if I can get it just right. If I get it right there, if I get it right there, you can kind of see the technology, the crease, the hinge technology, and that filled in crease technology that Oppo has implemented to fill that crease and reinforce it right there. Now you can't feel that, you don't see it, that's under the screen, but if you hit it just at the right light, you can see the reflections on the screen. But literally after a week, and if you've been following my IG and my YouTube, I've been posting. We're doing a 30-day on this to see how this thing lasts. But there is no crease here, and I don't believe we're going to get one. But I'm Foster, and this is Tech-A-Day, and this is the full review of the Oppo Find N6, the best foldable I've ever used, and probably the best foldable ever made to date. Let's get in it. Now, the Find N6 is the successor to the Find N5. And yes, I said it's the best foldable ever made. And it might win Best Foldable of the Year, taking the crown from the Honor V5 in my book. But it has its flaws. And one of them is not this crease. I'll tell you that. One of them is not this crease at all. This device is absolutely amazing. The inner screen is an absolute technological marvel. The outer screen is beautiful. It's a 6.62-inch LTPO OLED, 120 hertz. Resolution is 2616 by 1140, which is a 431 ppi, 3600 nits. The internal screen is an 8.12-inch LTPO OLED, another 120 hertz, 2480 by 2248, which is a 412 ppi. The camera system, 200 megapixel, f/1.8 with the OIS. Main camera, 50 megapixel periscope with a 3x optical zoom with OIS. 50 megapixel ultra wide. Selfie cameras, dual 20 megapixel selfie cameras. We have a Snapdragon 8 Elite, 12 or 16 gigs of RAM, LPDDR 5X, 256, 512, 1 terabyte, UFS 4.1. This is the 512 variant, 6,000 milliamp hour silicon carbon battery, 80 watt wired, 50 watt wireless, reaches 100% in 45 minutes, which is amazing. Color OS 16 based on Android OS. Unfolded, it's 4.21 millimeters. Folded, 8.93, which is basically the same thickness as a slab phone. 225 grams. IP59 rated against high pressure water jets and dust. So you can take this thing out and you're not worried about dust or water or weather. And again, that hinge is 2nd gen titanium. Now, we went over this crease, which is the big thing. And I have been a foldable person. I am a fold person. I can't, I'm not a slab person anymore. And the crease has never bothered me. But unfortunately, Oppo has ruined me going forward. Because after using this device, I mean, how do you even, man, I don't even know. It's until you use something like this, it's one of those things it's hard to explain until you use it. Because as fold users, you overlook the crease because it doesn't, and that's not something that you say that and you just are saying to do it. The crease doesn't bother you. When you're looking at the device, it doesn't bother you. You don't notice it. Like, it's one of those things that never bothers us because you don't see it. You have to really be looking for it. This is the first device where it's just not there. And that is something that is absolutely incredible. So hats off to Oppo for that. They did it. Apple has been talking about it for years. If you want to figure out how to do it so you can release your Apple Fold sooner rather than later, pay Oppo and just use the same screens they got, because they've done it already. And you can release this Apple Fold so we can finally get that thing and you can stop making us wait, because they did it already. Just borrow what they did and get it over with and let us get these phones. But this thing is amazing. The performance, the battery life, everything on this device is absolutely amazing. I have absolutely no complaints about this device, but I will say, unfortunately, this device falls prey to the same issues the previous N5 did, even though it improved drastically in the areas that the previous N5 was lacking. And unfortunately, the sore spot on this device, and it's, again, not a huge sore spot. The sore spot on this camera are the cameras. And if you remember, the N5 came out. The N5, I think, if I remember correctly, had a 50 megapixel, and then it had like a 12 megapixel, and then like a 8 or a 2 megapixel camera on the back. The 50 megapixel camera took decent pictures, but the 8 and the 2 megapixel cameras took straight trash pictures. They weren't good pictures. And this camera obviously drastically changed that, because now you have a 200 megapixel, a 50, and a 50 with dual 20 megapixel selfie cameras. And that drastically upgraded what this camera can do. The problem is the sensor sizes on those cameras isn't probably what it needs to be. And so those cameras take adequate pictures, but not the beast level pictures that you would assume cameras of the level should take. And I put those cameras up against the upcoming cameras on the Motorola Razr Fold cameras. And unfortunately, I haven't been able to look at the Oppo N6 the same since I did that test. It was a beatdown of epic proportions. But it wasn't a fair fight. The Motorola Razr Fold cameras are ranked the #1 foldable cameras in the world for a reason. And it proved why. So I'll link to that video, and we will get to the video, we'll get to the camera, we'll get to those pictures, we'll get to the pictures from this phone here in a section, to get in a section. But let's go over some of the performance in this performance of this phone before we go there. Like I said earlier, this phone has a Snapdragon 8 Elite, but it's a slightly underclocked 7-core version, not the full version. And they did that on purpose, for cooling and performance. But it doesn't mean that you still can't do all the gaming and all the other stuff that you want to do. This thing is still a champ at all that stuff. You do all your 4K editing, everything that you can normally do. I'm not a big gamer, but you still can do that. The multitasking on this thing is where it shines. You can do 3 apps at once on this, and it is absolutely amazing. And you can do it in 2 different ways. And so currently I have it in the maximum way. So you can have 3 apps fully sized. So you have one here, and then you have one underneath. So you can have all 3 out like that. So if you have them all, if you have all 3 of these apps out like that, it makes for, easy switching. Now, if you, all right, let's say we put that out. Let's say we put those 2 out. And then let's say we put that out there.
I think what is fascinating about this
so you have 3. So you can have 3.
Both of these guys had made about their longevity.
You can have 3 apps side by side, or you can have 3 apps going, vertical, on each side. So you can have them. It's a really cool way of doing the multitasking. Here we go. It's a really cool way to have this up and doing it that way. And super convenient, and it makes it very easy to use when you're doing this and using a device, even on a dual screen phone, being able to have all 3 apps out, like that. So the multitasking on this device is absolutely amazing. They have the AI pen that you can put on the back, the AI stylus, that makes the multitasking even better, because you can use the pen and you can just, swipe left and right with it. They also have a keyboard that is similar to this one, but it's made specifically for Oppo, but it's Bluetooth, and it doesn't have the trackpad. But as you can see, this one is connected to it. But they have one that's connected to. They have one specifically for Oppo that's connected to it, which is also super amazing. That you should take a look at if you're getting the Oppo Find N6. That makes multitasking and productivity with this device super easy. I mean, the device is super snappy. You can throw everything you have at this thing, multiple apps. It doesn't slow down, it doesn't stutter. 4K video, anything. This thing has not missed a beat. It's amazing. As I said in the beginning, best foldable ever made, hands down. Don't have a problem with this. Literally, there's nothing. I don't have anything negative to say really about this. Say about this foldable, about this phone. And the thing, and we can get into the camera situation now. The foldable camera landscape as a whole, and it's not just Oppo, it's everybody. Vivo X Fold 3 Pro probably had the absolute best cameras on any foldable ever. And then the Honor Magic V5 came out, and I would say that one is probably the only one to ever get close to that device, because the Vivo X Fold 3 Pro actually had Vivo flagship level cameras on a foldable in real life. And the Honor Magic V5, V6 was the only foldable ever to even get close to that. And when this was announced and I saw the specs, I thought, oh my God, we are finally going to get the beast of a camera that we all have deserved on a foldable phone. I was sure that we were gonna get it. And one by one, reviews started coming out, and the crease. And then they get to the camera, and it was like, the camera. Okay pics, not the greatest. And I was like, oh no. And unfortunately, what has happened is, to make these devices mainstream, to make a foldable device mainstream, to make a device, because this is a business after all, they've had to create a device that the masses would want. And that's what we needed. So we had to create a device that was the same as a normal slab phone that just happened to unfold, right? That's what we needed. And so when they did that, if you notice, this camera housing here is pretty darn thin, right? It's pretty thin. Now, if any of you have an Oppo X9 Ultra, a Vivo X300 Ultra, X200 Ultra, any of those actual Ultra phones, you already know that your camera housing is damn near as thick as the phone itself. Like, the phone is one thickness and your camera housing is a whole set of thickness, and they've gotten better. I will say the thickness, the newer ones, the thickness ain't as bad, but they're thick. But if you compare the thickness, and I'm gonna get one in, and I don't know if by the time I get the, I think the Oppo is the one I'll get in first, the Oppo X9 Ultra. Hopefully I have I have this device in at the same time. I'll compare the camera housing of the Oppo X9 Ultra to the thinness of the unfolded thinness of this phone, and I'm almost positive that the thinness of just the panel of this, that the camera housing might be thicker or as thick as just this right here. And so, unfortunately, we can't get those cameras in these devices. And so, I would hope that basically what's going to have to happen here is this market for these phones, we're still a niche market. We're still, we're not the cool kids yet that are carrying around foldable phones. If you took 100 people on the street, I guarantee you probably 2 of them have a folding phone, if that. Those numbers got to grow. And I have a feeling for that to happen, Apple's going to have to release their phone. They're going to need to release their phone. And once they release their phone, they're going to have success with their folding phone. And once they have success with their folding phone, people will now see folding phones as a real thing. And once they see that, just like everything else, they'll be like, oh, there's options. Apple's not the only one. Like, other people have been doing this. Maybe I'll take a look at those other things. But Apple will create space that was already there for other people, if that makes any sense. But they're gonna have to do it. And when they do it, they'll create the room that everyone else can use to then make these devices the devices they were meant to be. And maybe, just maybe, we'll get the Oppo N7 Ultra with the actual camera devices, the camera hardware that these things deserve, and then to have good devices. Maybe we'll get the Honor, what number would be? V7 Pro or something like that, with the camera hardware that it honestly deserves. So you'll have 2 versions of these foldable phones, one with, regular cameras that normal people can use, and then you'll get one for the enthusiasts that want a folding device with super cameras. But until then, what we'll have the Moto Razr Fold, which has the #1 ranked cameras in the world that takes absolutely amazing pictures. And if you take a look at my video, you can see kind of comparisons between what that thing takes and what this thing takes. So yeah, let's take a quick break and take a look at some of the pictures that the Oppo Find N6 takes, and we'll come back and kind of go over what we think of this device. And right, guys. So what did you think of those pictures? Like I said, takes decent pictures. I mean, it can take great pics and, you know, proper conditions. I guarantee you, better photographers can probably pump out some better pictures than I can in, you know, some other situations. But, you know, it just requires, you know, it's not, this camera, this phone isn't going to do what the camera hardware is going to make you think it should. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just not. And that's the unfortunate part about the entire thing, because this phone, and I reiterate, this is a phone that unfolds to tablet capabilities, is amazing. This is Color OS is amazing. They've got amazing AI capabilities built into this phone. I didn't even really get into some of that stuff, but some of the AI stuff that they have built into this phone is actually pretty usable. It's not, you know, the stupid stuff that, you know, they put in there, the AI search, you know, the AI writer, the AI translate, even the AI painter. It's some of the same stuff that you see in the Samsung phones. It's baked into this phone, and it's actually usable. The UI in this phone is great. The snap key on this phone, which is programmable, I have it set to camera. You can set it to a bunch of other things on this phone. You know, you can set it to a bunch of other, you know, different options on it. Is amazing. They really thought about everything when they made this device, and it is a shame that, and I said this, I said I didn't have anything negative to say about this phone, but there is only one real negative about this phone, and it's most people won't be able to get their hands on this phone. Now, even though you can get this phone at places like TechAday.net, which is my import store, or other import stores, most people can't just go out to their normal store or their normal, you know, cell phone store, or they can't just order from Oppo, and it's not available in their country. So they won't even order this phone because they don't, you know, if it's not available directly to them from someone that can service within their country or within their region, they won't order the phone. And that is the Achilles heel to this device. It only released, I think, in like 2 or 3 regions. And this is probably one of the best foldable phones to ever be built. And most people won't ever be able to get their hands on it through traditional means. And that is truly, truly unfortunate, because this is, like I said, hands down, one of the best foldables, maybe even phones I've ever used. And I used every foldable in 2025, every single one of them. And this blows all of those out of the water. So yeah, if you're interested in getting this phone, head over to TechAday.net. You know, we can still get it. If you're interested in getting any kind of phone, or if you have any questions, hit the concierge button. We can find it for you. We'll source it for you. But yeah, if you like this kind of content or you have questions, hit me up in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.